just pick up on that line that the government will now ban Russian aircraft from coming in. What does that actually mean?
Yeah, we've already had a ban, of course, on Russian aircrafts, as in Aeroflot, the state-owned company, and even private jets or other commercial aircraft. What we're doing now is going further. We've taken some additional powers. I signed the law late last night, which actually means we'll be able to be more specific. And for example, where we have aircraft which might be connected with Russian oligarchs flying into the country, they should know this sends the clearest signal of all. You can't do that anymore. We can impound your aircraft. It turns this into a criminal offence, and I hope sets out this position very, very clearly to them.
Yeah, I mean, we're talking a lot about aircraft this morning, aren't we, Mr. Shapps? President Zelensky, of course, wants the UK to protect Ukrainian skies. We've had this discussion overnight about Polish jets being used by the Ukrainian Air Force. Where are we with that? Because there seems to be a bit of confusion. The US saying that idea of Poland loaning its MiGs to the Ukrainian Air Force is untenable.
Yeah, look, I mean, actually, Poland's in NATO. We all work together on this, and it's important. I think that we are a defensive organization, which means that we won't be getting directly involved in the war. As you rightly say, the United States has said that it won't be taking those MiG jets. They don't even fly MiG jets themselves. So that's not something which is going to develop. But make no mistake, we're providing huge amounts of aid and support. The United Kingdom is the first country to provide anti-tank weaponry before this war broke out, before Ukraine was attacked, as well as training 22,000 Ukrainian troops, which is something else the United Kingdom did. So we stand fully behind Ukraine. We heard from President yesterday in Parliament in that remarkable speech that Zelensky gave, with echoes of Churchill, and we are doing everything that we possibly can to support our Ukrainian friends.
Yeah, so you're saying now that the British government doesn't support the idea of Poland loaning its MiGs to the Ukrainian Air Force?
Well, I should say it was nothing to do with the British government. This is between the Polish and the Americans.
Of course not. But we are sorry, Mr. Shapps. Of course not. But as you mentioned, we are part of the NATO alliance, and you know that yesterday on this programme, the Defence Secretary said that it would be entirely up to Poland if they wanted to loan their jets to Ukraine. Poland say they will loan those jets. So where does the UK government stand?
Yes, but we're not involved in this particular loan idea, and the Americans have said that they will not proceed in that manner. And look, I think, let me just be completely upfront with you. We need to make sure that in our absolutely stringent support for Ukraine, who are not a NATO member, of course, we are not inadvertently doing something which escalates this war in a way that would be unacceptable to the entire world. And so we're being, of course, rightly careful and cautious, providing huge amounts of humanitarian aid, providing military support as well, as you already heard, but not involving ourselves directly in the fighting. And I think that is absolutely the right stance.
And some may say not providing adequate refugee support. I mean, you've seen the numbers, Mr. Shapps. You've seen that some 500 visas have been accepted. 500 visas accepted. No idea how many Ukrainians have actually come here. It's shameful, isn't it, the way that the UK has handled this refugee crisis in Europe?
760 granted now, 22,000 applications which are on their way through. Look, I don't agree with you. No country has given more humanitarian assistance to Ukraine than the United Kingdom in the world. We've given 400 million pounds. In addition, the British people have been incredibly generous as well. Geographically, we are, of course, spaced further to the west. And President Zelensky and the Ukrainian government have told me that they do not want people to move far away, if at all possible, from the country, because they want people to be able to come back. Having said that, we have two schemes, one of which allows up to 200,000 Ukrainians here. That's the extended family scheme, and it does extend to all parts of somebody's family, aunts and uncles and that sort of thing. And then, of course, we've also announced a sponsorship route, again, for those people without family ties and unlimited. So we are really leaning into this at the same time respecting Ukraine's wishes, the government's wishes, not to pull people a long way away from Ukraine, which is not something that they want to see happen. But as ever, showing the British generosity, particularly in humanitarian support, as the largest donor nation.
Absolutely right. Lots of money's been given and lots of people are giving up things for Ukrainians. But the geographical thing doesn't quite work when Ireland's taken some 2,000 people and people in Calais are stuck at the border unable to come in.
I think it's right that, and people would expect us to be wanting to check people's status before they come in. We know that Russia are involved in all sorts of all manner of operations. So it's absolutely right to check that somebody's come from Ukraine and know who is coming to this country, essentially, and that's what we're doing. But we will, undoubtedly have a lot of Ukrainians come here to seek refuge. They'll be incredibly welcomed by the population, by the local authorities, by the government. We've shown that huge generosity, this country. I mean, most people probably don't realize that over 100,000, for example, Hong Kong Chinese have taken up their right of citizenship that we've granted, 25,000 from Syria. This country has always been incredibly generous. But as I say, I do want to stress, President Zelensky has asked us to proceed in the way that we are doing. I do agree with you with the need to make sure that there are sufficient places for people to be able to access that visa support. An office in Lille has just been set up. Paris is available. I checked last night. There are appointments available for people who are making their way west. But as I say, we are no country outperforms the United Kingdom when it comes to humanitarian assistance at 400 million, and no other country has provided more of that assistance. So we really can be proud of what we're doing on the ground, and it's help that the Ukrainians are specifically asking us to provide as well.
Yeah, I mean, on that, Mr. Shapps, did the Home Secretary Priti Patel mislead Parliament when she said that there was a visa centre set up in Calais? She said it twice, and there isn't one.
So there's visa assistance in Calais, I know. So there are British officials.
Not a visa centre where you can take biometrics and those kind of details that are necessary if people are to pass the visa requirements to get into the country.
Yeah, I didn't hit the specific comment, but I do know that in Lille there is a centre being set up. I do also know that because of the nature of the situation in Calais, of course, very long-term issues there of criminal gangs bringing people across, we're very keen to separate these two issues so that people don't get involved or caught up in some of that. And on their way towards the United Kingdom, if they're coming here, particularly for those family schemes or later for the sponsorship schemes, we want to make sure that people can have been processed via the visa application centres. We've got 6,000. This has been massively expanded. Usually, I think about 800 slots would be available. We've got 6,000 slots available now for people who are seeking those visas. I think it's very important that Britain does throw its arms around and try to assist. But I do want to stress that President Zelensky has directly asked us for the humanitarian provision and doesn't want people, broadly speaking, unless they have those family ties, but broadly speaking, would prefer people to settle closer to Ukraine because he wants people to go back again, which is very important when it comes to rebuilding this country post-war.
No, you're absolutely right. We will listen to what President Zelensky has to say because, of course, you do want people close by to the country. But you said you didn't hear the Home Secretary yesterday. I'll tell you what she said. She said that there's a visa centre set up in Calais. Sir Roger Gale says that that's not true. And if you've lied to Parliament, it's a resigning matter. Do you agree?
Oh, look, I didn't hear the comments, although I accept what you're saying to me. I do know there's a visa centre in... Yeah, sure. I do know there's a visa centre in Lille, and I know that there are a number of centres as people travel west. There are also people assisting in Calais in order to help provide people with direction and information. I do just stress that point that what we don't want to do is see people fleeing Ukraine caught up with what is we know very much is a criminal people trafficking operation that runs out of Calais, which is something that we certainly don't want people escaping war to then get caught up in. So what we encourage everybody to do is to use one of the 24-hour phone numbers, arranged for the to see somebody through one of those 6,000 now visa appointments which are available, and take up one of the routes. As I say, we've got very. I've seen this reported a lot, and it's slightly mystifying. We've got very generous program in place, and further programs coming along. The program for the extended family, for example, could see 200,000 Ukrainians come here. The sponsorship scheme again will be unlimited when that's launched, and I think it's a tribute to the British people, the amount of help and assistance people have been giving, and this country has provided more humanitarian support by the government, plus in addition to what people have privately been given, than any other country.
Okay, Mr. Shapps, and finally then, and quickly if you can please, appreciate all of that, but some people will say that they need more help to get to this country. But we'll move on quickly to the news overnight that the UK, US and EU are going to phase out the use of Russian oil and gas. Where's the UK going to get its energy from if it stops using Russian supply gas?
I should point out, yeah, sure. I should point out the UK doesn't buy, for example, petrol. None of our petrol comes from Russia. We do have some gas and some diesel, as you point out. Look, my view is quite simple. We need to stem the flow of Putin's gas and oil blood money from funding his war machine. And I think that the British people, even though it will, of course, lead to some higher energy prices, although we've probably already seen that happening already, the British people are not prepared to see us funding Putin's horrific war. And so I think it's very important that we take this step. We will step up our own production, and we're fortunate in the UK that we don't buy proportionately very much Russian oil and gas, and we do also produce our own. So we'll step that up as well. But I think it's incredibly important that we do this, because we must not be providing the blood money to fund his war.
Mr. Shapps. Okay, Grant Shapps, UK Transport Secretary, thank you very much for your time this morning. Thank you.
Thank you.